What's up, Maiden? This is my DIY self-build. Now I know there's loads of videos out there showing you how to grout, but I'm going to show you a few secrets using everyday household items, including toothpaste. Before you start, you need to make sure all of your tiles are cleaned down. Now these are rustic, so it looks like bits on them, but they're not. And to do that, I've used a scouring pad, normal washing up sponge. You'll need that for later as well. And then I've just given it a wipe down with microfiber cloth, and you'll need this for later as well. It's good to make sure your grout joints are cleaned out the day after you tile. So it's a little bit softer then. It's a couple of days after I've actually tiled this because I've left it to cure, because I've tanked the actual shower. If you want to see me shower, no. If you want to see me tile or even tank the shower, check out the channel. I might pop a link up here. If you do want to see me shower, I might set up an OnlyFans. Lucky enough, I don't need to clean out the joints that much because I'm quite meticulous when I'm tiling. But I do need to tape up around the edges because you will drop your grout. I'm going for Mapai for this one. This is the flexible and it's white. To mix up, I will be using a paint kettle. This is a 1.5 litre one from Screwfix. To also mix up, you need basically a palette knife. This is the kind of size that I normally use, but this one's dirty and rusty. You don't want that. So I have got a nice new one, but I clicked on the wrong one and I've got a 1-inch one. I can still do it. Make sure it's a little bit flexible. That's the best one. We're going to go out with a float, but not in a way that you'd normally imagine people do, because that is just like, they're nutters. I'll find a few clips of them. Like, what is this geezer doing? Like, you're not plastering the wall, mate. The way that I'll show you how to do it is a bit more reasonable, and yes, it might take a little bit longer, but you will get a better finish and it will be consistent. Washing up cloths, washing up sponges rather. Blue microfiber cloths I get from Screwfix, and a couple of buckets of water, clean, cold. Always read your instructions and then ignore them because you've got a better way. But this does say to put 0.65 litres of clean water into a bucket, and then you tip in 2.5 kilograms continuously whilst you stir with a mechanical mixer. Now that's going to be too much gear. I'm telling you, it's going to be too much gear unless you're like Superman and you do want to plaster the wall, which I don't think is a good idea. I do it in batches. If you do use a new filling knife, make sure you round off these corners, otherwise you'll scrape the edges and you'll get plastic filings in it. I haven't done this for a couple of years, but hopefully my muscle memory will serve me well. A little bit of water first. And then you're going to put in your powder after you put your mask on. Mix it up really well. This is probably, I don't know, about 1/3 of a bag. Okay, so this is where the toothpaste comes in. So the consistency that you're looking for is the same as toothpaste. Now, I trust everyone uses toothpaste every single day, so you will be familiar with it, and that's the best way to judge it. Now let's mix to a toothpaste consistency. We will leave it for a couple of minutes, and then we will come back, mix it again, and then we'll put it on the wall. Trick to this is to work in an area that basically you've got time to deal with. So I would suggest about 1 metre squared at the time, maximum. If you're doing massive tiles, you could probably get away with more. Now some people whack a load of grout on here and then they spread it on massively everywhere. You don't really want to do that. You want to concentrate in the actual areas that you actually need, because that way you're going to get the grout where you need it consistently. If you've done the whole wall, there might be a bit where it's a bit thin. You don't want that. So you're just going to push it in like this, yeah? Individual areas, push it in, and then you can scrape it off. I'm going to start at the top, just in case we drop any down the tiles. Now, depending on how big your tiles are, basically, as you start moving away from an area, use your float and just get off as much of the excess as you possibly can before it starts drying. As you move on, you'll get more consistent, better technique. So pack, scrape, pack, scrape, pack, scrape. And then you realise you've run out of gear even though you've only done that much, because there's loads of bloody tiles and grouted. But it's okay, we can mix up some more. And by the time you come to the end of this, so we've done roughly 1 metre squared, yeah? We'll just make sure that we're clean with our float. And already we've just got the powder on the surface of the tiles. And now comes the next step. Sponge it off. Now I did use one of these because I didn't have a proper sponge previously, and they worked out really well because you get more control in a concise area. I've got 2 different types here. One's more closed cell and the other one's open cell. I think the closed cell one is probably going to do the best. So I'll use that one first. I'll let you know if it's any good. This one's more expensive. So sponge in the water, squeeze it back off. It's just damp. And we're going to go over it straight away. So the aim is we're not coming back right at the end to clean our tiles, because we're doing it as we go. Now if there's any bits that are a little bit dry, just get your sponge and just wet it, and you can smooth it back in. 2 buckets, rinse it off in that one, pick up the water with this one, and that way your water always stays clean as possible. And clean your tools between every mix. And then straight after, microfiber cloth. Just be gentle with this. You don't want to push it right in. You're not going to push your grout out, you're just dusting it almost. And because you've done this, we're basically almost there. So when you come right at the end, where you have to clean your tiles, you're not scrubbing or anything. It's just a very, very, very fine buff. No gaps, no fat lines anywhere. All good, all good. And then just do that about 50 times. I'll see you at the end. Bang, there we go. Jobs are good. I'll do you a close up. Basically, you're looking for nice, good square joints. You'll notice just down here, it's still got a haze on. And up here, I've already buffed it off. Just reading the instructions here. It says, using a clean rubber grout, float or squeegee, work the grout thoroughly into the joint, ensuring that the joints are completely filled with no air trapped. See, that's what I do with the tuck and then scrape. So that when I'm tucking it in, it's getting fully filled, that joint, rather than the people that plaster the whole lot. They're not really getting anything in. Do not grout areas that cannot be washed off within 10 to 20 minutes. So I timed myself. The amount of area that I do, it was 9 minutes. So I would go on lower end of that especially. And that way you've basically got the chance of using your sponge accurately, because we've got the small one. If you've done grouting before, or you see anyone else's grouting, sometimes there'll be like these little bulges. Let's call them like knuckles. So if you've got anything like that, you can use the tiny sponge just to knock that little bit back, and it's all good. It says once everything's like set, you buff it up with a soft cloth. I do it straight away. See, I can buff this up straight away. And then that way, we don't need to come back. This is just literally dry powder that's left on here. And then we've got even less work to do when we come back. So remember, the tortoise wins the race. Just work on a little area at a time and then go back and sort yourself out. I would say if you're going to use a white grout like I have, it might be worthwhile using a white adhesive as well. For the extra couple of quid, it'll probably save you a little bit of aggro. I do have the tiny odd bit of grey adhesive showing through. I cut a few bits out, but I've left the majority of it because I've gone for this rustic look. If you've done any tiling yourself, just like me, a DIY, you're bound to add a little bit of lippage, especially if you haven't used a tile leveling system. Impossible to use on these. I've got a couple of tiles where they was a little bit off, not bang on, so you might need to change the direction of either how you're sponging off or even the actual float. If that helps you in any way, make sure you smash the thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already and you're interested in the self-build, then please do subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.